Hello, it's Tessa, one of the news editors here at Manx Radio, back with you for another episode of Newscast. And I've got a question for you. Have you ever been on a blind date or met someone you've been speaking to online and felt, well, uneasy? With the rise of online dating, the problem is perhaps more prevalent than ever before. So what would you do? Make a dash for the loo and scale down a drain pipe, text your friend under the table and ask them to call you with an emergency, or have the confidence to cut the engagement short and leave? Easier said than done, perhaps, for many. But there's good news now for anyone who does end up in a position like that. Licensed premises on the Isle of Man are lending support to a new campaign designed to help people who find themselves in vulnerable situations whilst on a night out. The Ask for Angela scheme is being rolled out across the island to provide discrete assistance to anyone who feels unsafe or threatened. It's a safety initiative which was started in the UK to try and reduce sexual violence and encourages individuals to approach bar staff with the code words in order to highlight that they need help. They simply have to ask for Angela. Sergeant Alan Shimmin is from the Isle of Man Constabulary's alcohol unit. He told me with the rise of online dating, the campaign is particularly timely.
I think it's important to recognise and give credit to the founder of the schemes. It's a lady called Inspector Hayley Crawford. So she's an inspector from Nottinghamshire Police Service. Part of her strategic criteria from her area there was to look at initiatives to reduce sexual offences on anybody. She's done all the homework for us. She's done a lot of work in the background, and when you're coming up with some kind of trying to come up with solutions to reduce any kind of problems they have, it's really important you do the proper research. Long story short, it came down to a number of things that were a factor, some factors. One was online dating and also alcohol as well. After doing the research on that regards, she's discovered, a lot of these offences happen when people having these dates. The
dating landscape has changed, hasn't it?
So traditionally, you might meet, you might be through a friend or a workmate or family relative who will introduce you to someone who actually know who you're meeting. But I understand culture's changed now, and dating apps, you're meeting people online. And the reality is you actually don't really know who you're meeting. And then once you have this conversation with somebody you don't know, you're meeting up for the first time, a stranger. You could end up in an uncomfortable situation. What we want to do on the Isle of Man is make sure people are going out and meeting people. Doesn't necessarily have to be dating, but dating is an example of it, is that when they do go out, they feel safe, and we've got some really good licensed premises on the Isle of Man. Really good, work really closely with them, and they are a safe place to be. But we always want to go a step further and make sure we maintain that safety. So if you're going out on a date, and for some reason you might just get a gut feeling that just something doesn't quite feel right, I just don't feel comfortable about it, can't put my finger on it, you might not have the confidence or feel comfortable to just say, sorry, I'm leaving. What this scheme allows you is you should be able to go to the bar and say, is Angela here, please? That should trigger a response by the bar staff or security staff, whatever the venue's going to be, and they'll say something, yes, no problem, just come with me, she's around here. And that specific licensed premises will already have designated a safe area for that individual to go to. What could happen in that scenario? It could be a case of the licence holder, the member of staff there might just make a phone call, get a taxi for you, phone your friend, phone a parent to come and get you, and they'll just make sure you're safe, and that's it, and do what you want. Doesn't have to do anything to do with the police at all.
It's simply about people being able to trust their gut feeling and avoiding any potential problems.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it is a gut feeling. It doesn't have to involve the police at all. Obviously, we're driving it as an initiative in partnership with the licensing trade, but I don't want it to be seen as a police scheme. You'll hopefully start to see some posters who have taken up this initiative in licensed premises, and you won't see any logos from the police or anything like that, because it doesn't need to come to us. But obviously, if something does happen or you feel particularly worried about a situation, you can always call us anyway.
And obviously the scheme's success will depend very much on the support of the licensing industry, of the licensed premises. What sort of feedback have you had from them? Because I guess part of your role is to go out and talk to them about this and get them on board.
It simply wouldn't work if we didn't have the support from the licensing trade. Now, we were keen to launch this scheme to coincide with Safeguarding Week, which is happening next week. Obviously, we don't want to launch it without the licensing trade to actually know about it. And so there's been a lot of work going on in the background over the last couple of months at least to communicate with a lot of the key stakeholders in the licensing industry and spreading the word. I can say everyone has been completely positive about it. There's not been a negative thing about it. And it's important in a scheme like this, for a scheme like this to work, it is, as long as the licensed premises know what to do in the eventuality is, and everyone's on the same page, and it doesn't cost anything. This doesn't cost the trade anything. I printed off the posters myself, so I've given it to them. So it hasn't costed anybody any money to be part of the scheme.
And obviously when we talk about licensed premises, we do talk about alcohol, and alcohol can obviously lower people's inhibitions. People can act differently when they've had a drink than they would in normal circumstances. I guess that is a factor in this, and about making a judgment as to whether somebody is genuinely sort of in need or whether they've just had a bit too much to drink and they've maybe assessed the situation wrong.
Absolutely, and that's quite an important point. But not necessarily the person they feel uncomfortable with has actually done anything wrong at all. It's just that person doesn't feel comfortable to say I'm leaving, and that's it. So it is to look at these things proportionately and with common sense.
And obviously we are nearly at the end of November now, so we're going to be going into that festive season where people tend to go out a lot more. It's going to be a busy time for the licensed trade this year. Are you confident that this can sort of be managed alongside that sort of busy festive period?
It's been timed obviously to coincide with Safeguarding Week, but also the festive period, and I don't want it to be seen to be a Christmas campaign, although it's an ideal opportunity to fit in with a Christmas campaign, because as you say, I've had this conversation many a time with a lot of people. Sometimes people go out during Christmas time that wouldn't normally go to and give into a bit of peer pressure and maybe overindulge and do things or that they wouldn't normally do. So it is an opportunity to just to use this scheme as well if needs be. Hopefully it won't be needed.
What would success look like to you?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. It's a question I've posed to myself. I spoke to a licence holder. My first person I spoke to, I won't mention names, but and I said, this is what I'm hoping to sell coming up to the end of the year. And I said to her, what do you think? And she goes, I wish this was in about 20 years ago, because I had a scenario where I had a date exactly like this. I didn't feel comfortable. I ended up going to the bathroom and climbing out of the window. And I was like, this was the first person I'd spoken to. And how, in terms of measuring it, it is, for me, the licence holders will be keeping a record, or when it's their duty to keep a record if there's any incident happens in their licensed premises. That's what that's their normal practice. So they will keep a record if somebody's asked for Angela. Please don't let that scare anybody. Doesn't mean we're going to go and speak to people. It's literally just a record. Say somebody came and asked for Angela, got a taxi, done. That's it. No information, no private data, unless that person specifically asks for that to be passed on. In that regard, we're going to hopefully get some sense if or when it's being used, which will be interesting. But also the success can be measured in terms of general feel. It's another method to also support a hospitality industry. They've been struggling since COVID, and the cost of living. I've been doing in licensing trade in the alcohol unit for 5 years now, and I've seen them struggling horrendously. If you walk in and you see this poster up in the wall and the bathroom, whatever, that shows their commitment to the safety of the people of the Isle of Man, and that will hopefully make their premises an attractive place and they go in as well. So hopefully it will be busy. None of them have to. We're not forcing anybody to do this. It is purely voluntary, and I've not seen anybody who's said no, and they've all been very supportive. I'm really grateful to the licensing trade, especially after what they go through, and they're still continuing with the struggles. But it's important that working together, that we both, the police and the licensing trade and the security trade, just maintain the ball rolling and come up with initiatives to make licensed premises in the Isle of Man the safest place.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.